It sounds amazing. It really does. That Sun City trip. Goodness. But imagine your partner goes because of their work to Sun City and they're like, oh, my word, I got the best job. They took me to Sun City, but then you don't. And then suddenly you're like, hold on, but my job is not like that. What's going on? And like, do you have a better job than me, baby? What do you mean you got a better job than me? No, it doesn't matter, but I still love you. It doesn't matter, but you're going to Sun City. What about? And then suddenly there's contention. There's comparison. We live in a world that is driven by competition. And in our daily lives, we're constantly distracted by the need to draw comparisons from other people. The neighbor got a new car. What about your car, baby? Don't you need a new car? You know what happens. So what happens when that comparison actually happens within a relationship? And this is why we need to bring in the big guns, people who can really give us some light. And we've got motivational speaker and coach. Also, my new best friend, Lucia Dramat, is here, along with the couple of doctors. I mean, when you are doctors, how can you not compare yourself to one another? Dr. Chad and Dr. Chanel Martinison are here, so we can compare things and notes on this matter. Hello, Lucia.
Hello.
Right. So I set the scene properly.
You did.
Contention, comparison. I would like to know, when do you recognize this in a relationship? When do you see that it's becoming a problem? I mean, it's nice to play fight a bit in a relationship. But when do you think is the alarm bell going off when it comes to that comparative nature in a relationship?
I think when we're playing a little bit of Monopoly, that's all fun and games.
Yes.
Then go crazy.
Right.
If you're doing paddle, go crazy. If you have a challenge, like we're both doing a health challenge,
yes,
let's see who loses the most, or that's fine.
Okay.
But when you start, your partner celebrates something great's happening in their lives, and you kind of have that frustration, that itchy feeling like, oh, okay, it's you, but it's not me. You don't want to have that feeling.
Yes.
You don't want to have that deep-rooted comparison. Are they better than me? Are they this? Are they that? If you're doing that, no ways. Then you are totally on the wrong side, because very often that is rooted in insecurity. You actually feel bad about something, and now you're trying to prove something else. Like, I'm actually good at this. I'm actually better at this. Because there's some insecurity. And that is what the alarm bells... If you say, my partner's doing something great, I'm not, then the alarm bells are going off, because you shouldn't be doing that. You should be celebrating.
Right,
you should be happy for them.
I mean, Lucia, can you just imagine being in a relationship with, like, two doctors? Can you just imagine two doctors in the same relationship?
Your stitch.
Wow.
Your stitch was skewed.
You know, like, yeah, exactly. Dr. Chad and Dr. Chanel. I honestly feel like this feels like Jerry Springer. Anyway, right, so let's go to your... So, hello, doctors.
Hi.
Cool.
I'd like to know how you nurture a bit of comparison, okay, but good comparison, maybe a good competition between you two, because, I mean, you're doctors. It's like the apex of occupation, and now you're in the same household. How does that even work? Have there been moments where you compared?
This was just start that we met at med school.
We met at med school.
So med school humbled us.
Okay, so then, tell you what, then who had the better marks?
I did, actually.
Let me answer. I was a horrible medical student.
But he's smarter.
No, I'm not
but I
smarter.
did better.
She's the
Good
smart one. So for context, I'm not a clinician anymore, so I kind of stepped into the business realm. And so that kind of comparison, the whole dynamic changed.
Yeah.
And the reason I was able to step into the business realm was because I had Chanel as a partner. She literally gave me, I said to her, love, I'm no longer a clinician, I'm no longer a doctor, I'm quitting. I'm going to start a business. She said, it's fine. We moved back home to my parents' house just after getting married, and she supported me. And she kind of kept us afloat for a few months as we built this business together. And then, you know, as time went on, I said to Chanel, she wanted to specialize, and I said, Chanel, I'm begging you, I'm pleading you, please, can you sacrifice a few years to join me?
It was 1 year.
It was initially 1 year, it's now 5. And I said to her, I really need you. I need you in this business.
Yes.
It's difficult to find doctors who are as bright and as sort of open-minded as you are. Please come and join the company. And she sacrificed again and said, I'll join. So now the dynamic is a little bit different, whereas we
work together, but he's my boss.
I'm not. Yes, but...
Oh, this is getting better and better. Lucia, I got so much to ask you, but no, you guys continue.
So the dynamic is such that, and it's a culture within the company. So we believe in a nucleus. So we have like a nucleus. And everyone in the business that I bring in, you have to have that family nucleus. Very important. So I celebrate her as far as I celebrate everyone in our company. But whenever she succeeds or wins something or gets a deal or something, celebrate. We applaud it. It's for the betterment of the business. And that's sort of the culture across, you know, the thing. We had one bet last year. I was quite fat and I had to lose a bit of weight.
Like what Lucia's said about competitions and losing weight.
I was incredibly obese, morbidly obese actually. And I made a bet with Chanel and I said, by this day, I need to be at this weight.
Yes, yes.
If I don't get it, you get full control of my everything. Bank account,
Bank
cards,
account.
everything.
Okay.
You can take it.
Yeah.
And I had to lose like 20 kg or something. And I did lose it, by the way. So
You look amazing.
I worked very hard because I couldn't. This one is not make sure when it comes to spending. And that was sort of a good. And then another example is just exercise and fitness and just being in the household. We are very celebratory of each other's wins. Chanel the same with me. So there's an element just in our household where we kind of try and keep that level.
I need to bring in Lucia for a second. Pause scene. Right. That's great. That's an ideal, Lucia. It really is. You heard all the pillars of what makes this work in their relationship now. How do you nurture that in a relationship where you can see that there is unhealthy comparison? How do you even get down to that moment where you recognize it and say, hey, I don't think this is good for us. Let's take it back to basics and the purpose as to why we're together. Where does that begin?
As a life coach and motivational speaker, I usually speak to the individual.
Yes.
And I speak to you, where's your mindset? What are you focusing on? And whatever you focus on, whatever you acknowledge, whatever you celebrate gets magnified. So if you focus on negative, it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you focus on positive, it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you feel there's a lot of negativity going on, there's a lot of comparison, then it's probably what you're focusing on. You're either focusing on your insecurity and you're trying to prove that that isn't all that you are, or you are focusing on something about that person that's annoying you and you're trying to show them, you know.
Yes.
So if you start shifting your focus to what you're grateful for in that person, what you're grateful for in this relationship, what you love about this relationship, then it's going to move you out of that space of trying to compete the whole time. At the end of the day, your partner is your safe place. Your partner is your, we do life together, we advance together. And a little bit of motivation. Lots of people have a different motivation recipe. Some people like to watch inspiration. Some people need a bit of competition. Whatever stirs you up, you figure out your recipe. And if competitive or a competitive nature is part of that, that's okay. But you want to make sure it's just like, okay, they're doing well. Let me also do well. Okay, let me grow with them. Let us not outgrow each other. Let's stay on the same zone and grow together. If you're doing that, great. But if it is that malicious thing, then start refocusing, work on yourself, and then come to the relationship and say, this is where I am now. Can we do this together or can we not?
We can do this together. We can. In fact, we're going to do this again in the next couple of seconds. Any questions, throw it our way. We've got the doctors and, of course, Lucia Dramat, my best friend, on the couch to answer all of your questions. But we will unpack a bit more in the next couple of minutes. Stay with us. It's your Feel Good Breakfast Show Expresso here in S3.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show Expresso in S3. And in case you missed it, we had doctors on this couch and a motivational speaker and life coach, Lucia Dramat, to really just unpack those healthy versus unhealthy competitive moments between couples. So we just need to shed some more light for you and stir a bit more. I mean chat a bit more about how this works. It's quite important though. So just to kind of recap, we're talking about the good pillars, the purpose behind a relationship, and then we chatted to our lovely doctors as well, Dr. Chanel, Dr. Chad as well, just to make sure that, you know, there's no competitiveness with regard to who's the better doctor, who's the better business person, etc. No, it's important. I think it's... But let's talk about gender roles. We are living in that type of world, Lucia. We've got to be open to a lot of these gender roles. You just heard a little earlier Dr. Chad saying, I wanted Dr. Chanel to look after me while I develop this concept of mine. And not many people, you did basically say that, right? So hold on, it's important for us to tap onto this, right? Let's talk about that moment right there, where, let's just say, traditionally, male must go get food out of cave, come back with food. That's unfortunately some people's mindsets. They still are like that. So, you know, how do you also look at, navigate that space of gender in a relationship and those traditional roles and perhaps creating more fluidity in a home?
I think looking even at my friendship circle,
Yeah.
it's so diverse these days. Sometimes the mom is the career woman and she's doing the thing and dad's doing the carpool and dropping the kids at school. You just look at your lifestyle and you see what works. You don't have to mirror anybody else.
Yes.
You look at practically, this is my job, this is your job, this is what we're doing, this is the person who's willing to make the sacrifice or compromise in this season or chapter of your life. And that is how it goes. You don't have to stick to a specific rule. Yes, you do this, I do this.
Yeah.
You do what works. A relationship, I often say, is like a bank account. But you have to put deposits in and then you make withdrawals. So as long as you both are depositing in whatever way you guys do, the one might do in time, the other one does in money, the one does in energy, the one does in communication, then you can have your withdrawals as well. But if you are just withdrawing, and you're never putting deposits in, that's where the problem comes in. So as long as both are depositing in a way that they can, and in a way that benefits both of them, they both can withdraw from the relationship what they need in a way that they need it and in the time that they need it.
So since we have a couple on the couch, I mean, can we do a psychological exercise?
Let's go.
Dr. Chad, you run a successful business. Dr. Chanel, you are currently one of the employees of said business, but also one of the partners in motivation of this gentleman. Dr. Chanel wants to start her own company after learning the trade and wants to start something bigger and better. Maybe gets access to better technology, to access a lot more opportunities than you are accessing, Dr. Chad.
100%.
How do you navigate Dr. Chanel going off and creating a company, a lot like yours, but a lot more advanced tech-wise and even revenue? What is your thought?
I mean, 27% on the table. I mean, I'm there. We shall build it together.
Sorry, one of my businesses, actually, underneath the company of his.
Okay.
So we are working.
But what if that business becomes really big and there's business awards and then your business wins?
That's fine. The business wins.
The business wins.
Doesn't matter.
So even if it's a completely separate business from yours, you are still going to back
long as
Chanel.
100%. As long as I can bring the core expertise into the business for it to thrive.
Yes.
Whether she's in front of it, she's leading it, doesn't really matter. I mean, business is not an emotional thing. It's the business side of things is business. And Chanel, in her capacity as someone who I believe, I mean, she's someone who I see potential in probably sometimes before she even sees it. And if she tells me I have an idea, I said, I'll back you. Whatever you want to do, let's go. And that's just how we do most things, I guess.
You two stumbled. In fact, Chad, you said something so powerful. And Lucia, just to wrap this up in terms of some pearls we can drop, if anybody's experiencing contention that is not actually healthy in a relationship, it's business, it's not, emotional. That was quite powerful.
But
right?
I think a lot of people, their business is their baby because they've sacrificed so much to get it and to make it work. And entrepreneurship is difficult. It's no easy thing. So for a lot of people, they are fully invested. But I think if you can separate your identity from what you do and have a strong sense of who you are, what you bring to the table in life, not just in the workplace, then that will help you in that arena.
Yes.
However, I will say, I never want to compete with my husband. I mean, if he says to me, Lucia, I want to be a motivational speaker, I say, why?
Oh, really? Why?
I like that he's totally opposite to me.
Okay.
He's quiet. He likes to be behind the scenes. I'll do the front of the scenes. I don't want to compete, to tell stories at the dinner table. No. I like that he's a listener and I'm a talker.
So what am I hearing now?
That's me.
What am I? Find somebody who's not as good as you and marry them. And it's like, I don't know. Was that what we're talking about?
These things.
Different.
This is what I think it is.
Well, you know what? I actually like what you said now. I like the fact that there's separation between what business and what you bring there and what you bring to a relationship as two human beings who love each other. Yes. That is so important, though, and I think that's a pivot that we have to look at all the time if it's going to be terrible comparison and competition. But Lucia, thank you so much for your pearls of wisdom. We've tracked through a lot of good things over here. We need to start a talk show on this one topic. We'll make a lot of money. Anyway, but if you are comparing in a very, very negative way, perhaps it's time to get back to basics and remember why you're with each other. Because you love each other. I mean, look at these two you're about to see, Ewan and Graham. They're staring into each other's eyes. You know why? Because they love each other. They never compare.